fan of the Fab Four, and more specifically, the legendary John Lennon, you can get a personal account of his lost weekend straight from the source.
A special exhibition of candid photos from his time will be on display at Athithi Studios, all captured by his companion and former lover. And we have her today, May Peng. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like have to start at the beginning here because there's such an interesting story to how this all came to be. So how did you meet John Lennon?
Well, you know, that's the whole thing. Everybody asked, and I worked at the office. I worked at where, you know, Apple Records in New York. It was actually Alan Klein's management, and he also had the Rolling Stones, too. So we had both of those bands going on. But that's where I started, and they came into town to have, what was it, Yoko wanted to make 2 movies, Fly and Up Your Legs Forever. And somehow I was the one that got called to go and work with them.
Wow.
And that's how it started. So I made a documentary because people have asked over my time, because it's always known as the Lost Weekend and nobody understood what was going on and everybody else was telling my story. So I made a documentary called The Lost Weekend, a love story, which of course is available like on Amazon Prime and all that. So people can watch it now.
And so what are the photos that you have up at Athithi Studios? It's
during my time with him. John liked my eye on him. So he said, whatever, he goes, carry on, just, because he looked at my photos, and he goes, I like what you're doing.
Yeah.
So just, you know, go ahead, keep taking them. So I only took pictures of us, or Julian, or everybody, when I thought it was a nice photo that looked different from what you see.
Look at this.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you were taking these photos, did you imagine that you'd share them with other people?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It was only for us. It was our, you know, candid shots for at home, and he would look at it. Although as time went on, obviously, John asked me for one of the photographs after we split, and he said, we're releasing a 45 of Imagine, and I want it for the sleeve.
Right.
Back then, for anybody who knows what a 45 was in the sleeve. So it's his photo that he loved because of his sweater. And Julian just recently did one, and he asked if I had any photos of him, and he used it for the album cover, his last one, called Jude.
So the two of you had a very intimate relationship.
Yes.
And is it true that Yoko gave you the thumbs up to date him? How does that work?
I know, how does that work? And I didn't want it, and I told her. But she was insisting, and I said no, and John didn't even have a clue either. So it was her way of, because, you know, people forget that she was wanting to do other things too.
Yeah.
So John was also, they were having their problems in their marriage.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it, and they kept pushing, and it was like, no. And it took a while, because I just like working. I did not want to be involved.
Right. Yeah.
So when you watch the movie,
you'll find out the backstory.
You'll find out the rest.
Yeah.
And you were with John during this incredibly creative period in his career.
Yes.
And so what was it like to sort of see all these things happening?
Well, you know, you're in the moment.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I'm doing this, or I'm capturing a time where, oh, it's going to be amazing. It was just like every day we were in the recording, we were doing, you know, he goes, oh, take a photo of this, I want this, or, you know, Julian's in town. And of course, it happens to be iconic times. Obviously, one of the last photos of John and Paul together. And it was the last photo of them 2 together, but not their last time of seeing each other.
Right,
yeah.
Of course.
But that's the thing.
You know, I think when we look at celebrities, and even looking back at the Beatles, so you see them as they are photographed. We see these images, and you're able to bring something that's much more human to it than just the celebrity of this person. What was he like in person?
He was, there were times he was shy. He was very witty, but he also had a sharp tongue. You didn't want to be in his way in case that happened.
And that happened, right.
You know, and he was also naive. You know, there was a time, there was some gossip going on, and Jagger came over, Mick, for anybody, and he came over to our place in the city, and he said, oh, did you hear this and this and this? And John's like, what, where was I? And then he'd call out to me, and he goes, Meg, come in here. I said, what? He goes, did you know about it? I said, yeah. He goes, well, where was I? I said, I don't know where you were, but I knew.
Yeah.
I think we have one more photo to share.
Yeah.
I think this is a special one. Can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, we had just gone to Disney World, and this was our Christmas holiday with Julian in 1974, and he had just signed the dissolution papers, and it was just now everything was over and the Beatles were officially apart.
Wow.
But it wasn't a sad moment. Everybody now can do what they want.
Yeah.
But they were still together.
Yeah.
You know?
What a special thing that you are bringing here to Pittsburgh. It is so neat, and we're so glad that we had this conversation.
I hope you guys come by.
Yeah.
It'd be lovely to.
Well, and you can all stop by too. May's exhibition will be on display at Athithi Studios in Sharpsburg tomorrow and Wednesday, and May will be there sharing stories and answering questions. We've got more information on our website, kdk.com/talkpittsburgh.
And now I know what I'm going to watch this weekend. I got to watch the documentary.